Hello friends, welcome to CEC Online Lectures. Myself Dr. Aditya P. Tripathi, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Shamlal College, Evening, University of Delhi. My dear students, I am here to continue our discussion on the topic of overhead variances. This is going to be part 3 of my lectures on overhead variances. In the previous lecture of ours, we discussed about the basic concepts of overhead variances. We also had some numerical problems to understand how to calculate different types of variances related to overhead, that is fixed overheads as well as variable overheads. In today's lecture of mine, I'll actually try to make you understand how to calculate calendar variance. Basically it is part of capacity variance, but with another numerical problem we shall try to understand how to calculate volume variance, how to calculate capacity variance, how to calculate efficiency variance and calendar variance with another numerical problem. And after that we shall talk about the disposition of variances. Like whatever variances we are calculating, at times my students are coming to me and asking, sir, what is exactly the use of this particular variance what we are calculating? If you remember, at the very outset in the very first lecture of mine, I told you about the way variances are calculated and they are being used by the managers into our business enterprise for their decision making process. So there are different methods for disposition of those variances which we calculate. There are different ways to deal with it, and that is something which I'll be discussing in today's lecture of mine. So let us start with another numerical problem where we'll try to understand how to calculate calendar variance, how to calculate efficiency variance and capacity variance. So let's have a look at this problem number 2 for this overhead variance. There is a company called Chitra Limited. It is providing us the following information. It has a normal capacity of 120 machines working daily for 8 hours for 25 working days in a month. So basically in this particular line we are providing you the three sets of information. The first is that the machine has a normal capacity. It is having a normal capacity of 120 machines and they are working daily for 8 hours. So each of the machines, they are working for 8 hours for 25 working days in a month. So in a month, how many working days we have? 25 working days. How many hours workers are working? 8 hours. And how many machines? 120 machines. Fixed overheads are budgeted at rupees 1,44,000 per month. This is the amount of fixed overheads on monthly basis. The total amount which is budgeted on account of fixed overhead is rupees 1,44,000 per month. Moving ahead, question informs us that standard time required to manufacture 1 unit of production is 4 hours. Which means the question is telling us that to produce 1 unit of output, we have to actually we have to devote 4 hours to manufacture that. Further, the question is informing us that during the budget period, company worked 24 days of 840 machine hours and produced 5305 units of output. Actual fixed overheads which is reported in the question is rupees 1,42,000. And further, question is asking you to calculate the fixed overhead capacity variance, efficiency variance and calendar variance. So try to understand, my dear students, the question is asking us to calculate all variances which are related to fixed overheads only. They are asking us to calculate capacity variance, efficiency variance and calendar variance. The way of dealing with the problem will remain the same, which I told you in the previous questions also, in the previous problems also. Similarly, we have to take up this question also. The only difference is, in earlier questions, we had both the variances, that is variable overheads and fixed overhead variances. Here we are dealing with only one type of variance, that is fixed overhead variance. So our job is roughly 50% as compared to the previous questions, right? So let us first understand what exactly is the subdivision of volume variance. I would like you to recall what was there into fixed overhead volume variance. When I was telling you about fixed overhead volume variance, I told you that it is further justified by computation of fixed overhead capacity variance, fixed overhead efficiency variance and calendar variance. Now remember, the presence of calendar variance can actually be assigned to the reason. If the question reports us about the deficit hours or additional hour worked or additional days worked, then only we can calculate the calendar variance. Otherwise, fixed overhead volume variance can be justified by the computation of capacity variance and efficiency variance. So calendar variance is something which is subject to the information available. If the question informs us that there are reasons to calculate calendar variance, then only we shall be calculating. Otherwise, we will not be calculating calendar variance in all questions, right? So it depends on the information which is given into the numerical problem or the question in front of us. So let us solve this question. First of all, we'll start with the computation of budgeted hours for budgeted days, right? So how to calculate budgeted hours for budgeted days? The budgeted days or standard days are given in the question. 25 days we have to work. Working hours are mentioned in the question, that for 8 hours per day the machine is working. How many machines are working? At the very outset, in the first very para we talked about, we got the information for this, that number of machines working is 120. Now it is very simple for us to calculate budgeted hours for budgeted days. It is equal to 120 machines working into 8 hours per day. That will tell us about that on an average in a day how many hours we are working, and that can be multiplied with total number of days, that is 25 days. So 960 hours per day is basically the functioning, because we have 120 machines and for 25 days we are working. So total working in terms of hours is 24,000 hours. So this is basically what? This is my budgeted hours for budgeted days. So budgeted days are 25, number of machines are 120. For 8 hours per day you are working, that is why your budgeted hours for budgeted days, or you can say BHBD, is equal to 24,000 hours, right? Once it is calculated, the next step is to calculate actual hours. So let us calculate budgeted hours for actual days. The same is computed for actual days. The question reports that we worked for 24 days only. So the same process is applied, but the only difference is that actual days are now 24 days as compared to budgeted days which were 25 days. So we are computing budgeted hours for actual days. So actual days are 24 days, working hours 8 hours per day, and number of machines working 120, the same. Now we can calculate budgeted hours for actual days. 120 into 8, it remains the same. What is actually changing here is number of days for which we are working. Budgeted days were 25, actual days are 24. So there is a deficit time of 1 day. So the moment we multiply this 960 hours into 24 days, we can come to know about the budgeted hours for actual days, which is here 23,040 hours. So budgeted hours for budgeted days were actually 24,000 hours. Here it is 23,040 hours. Now this information is in hand with us. Now we can proceed for further computation. Next step is to calculate budgeted fixed overhead per hour. The question is reporting us about the total amount of fixed overheads and budgeted hours. So we can easily compute budgeted fixed overhead per hour, right? Now what is the formula for it? Budgeted fixed overhead per hour is equal to total fixed overheads divided by budgeted hours. Total fixed overhead is rupees 1,44,000. Budgeted hours reported in the question 24,000 hours. The rate which comes here is rupees 6 per machine hour. So it is very simple to calculate, my dear students. We have simply taken total fixed overheads divided by budgeted hours to arrive at the budgeted fixed overhead per hour, and here it comes to be rupees 6 per machine hour. So wherever in the numerical problem we will be needing the budgeted fixed overhead per hour rate, the same rate, this rupees 6 per machine hour, is going to be applied, or we are going to use this particular information here, right? So with this basic computation, these are the basic computations. So whenever we are calculating, whenever we are going to calculate the fixed overhead variances, these are the basic computations which we should always calculate beforehand, so that when we are proceeding for calculating different types of variances, these informations are handy with us, right? So let us now calculate budgeted hours for actual output. It is given in the questions. The question is telling us that standard required time to manufacture 1 unit of output is 4 hours. This was given in the question, that standard required time to manufacture 1 unit of output is 4 hours. Question is reporting us that how many units we have manufactured, that is 5,305. So if we require 4 hours to manufacture 1 unit, so how many hours we require if we have to manufacture 5,305 units? Very simple, we have to multiply 5,305 units into 4 hours, and the result is 21,220 hours. My dear student, this 21,220 hours is what? This is budgeted hours for actual output. So in relation to output, my budgeted hours is 21,220. So we have three sets of hours. One is basically budgeted hours for budgeted days, budgeted hours for actual days, and budgeted hours for actual output. So one is dealing with the standard and another is dealing with the output. Third one is dealing with the timing. So when I'm talking about the actual days, obviously it is dealing with the time. So these are three sets of information. Now with these calculation, we can go for computing the different types of variances which are related to fixed overhead cost variance, right? So let us calculate actual hours for actual output. As reported, 24 days you are working, 840 machine hours question is reporting. So we have worked for how many hours? 20,160 hours. So actual hours for actual output is now 24 days into 840 machine hours. This is 20,160 hours. So it's time for us to calculate fixed overhead volume variance. Formula for it is very simple. Standard hours for actual output minus budgeted hours into standard rate. Now standard hours for actual output we have just calculated as a basic information, 21,220 hours. Budgeted hours we have computed this also, it was 24,000 hours. The difference is obviously budgeted hours are greater, 24,000 hours. Actual hours, standard hours for actual output is 21,220 hours, and the rate also we have computed ₹6 per hour. So the difference is 2780 hours into ₹6. What we are getting? We are getting 16,680. This is basically, my dear students, fixed overhead volume variance, and we are going to tag it with the adverse tag. The reason is what? Because budgeted hours are greater than that of standard hours for actual output. So obviously it is going to be on the negative side for us. It is going to adversely affect our costing pattern. So 16,680 is adverse. This is my fixed overhead volume variance, right? Now once it is computed, see, the question is not asking us to calculate fixed overhead volume variance, but just in order to increase your understanding about the other components of fixed overhead variances which we are supposed to calculate, I thought that we should calculate volume variance also, so that we can also exemplify how to justify the computation of volume variance by different further computations. So this volume variance is computed. Now to justify it, we shall be doing further calculation. The next is fixed overhead efficiency variance. This is going to tell us about the efficiency and effectiveness of the fixed overhead, how effectively we are actually making use of it. This is something which is going to be depicted by this particular computation, right? So fixed overhead efficiency variance is equal to, formula is known to us, budgeted hours for actual output minus actual hours worked for actual output. My dear students, budgeted hours for actual output minus actual hours worked for actual output into budgeted fixed overhead per hour. Budgeted hours for actual output is 21,220. This is in relation to output, and actual hours worked for actual output is 20,160. The rate is known to us, ₹6. So difference is coming to be 1,060 hours. Budgeted hours are greater than that of actual hours worked, and the answer is value is coming to be 6,360. But remember, my dear student, this value is going to be favorable for us. Why it is favorable? Because we are giving the production with the less number of actual hours working, or you can say by working for less hours we are giving the desired output. So here the budgeted hours are greater than that of actual hours. So obviously the answer is, or the variance is going to be in our favor, and that is why we have given it a tag of favorable. So in this computation, fixed overhead efficiency variance is 6,360 favorable. Next is to calculate fixed overhead capacity variance. Very simple to calculate it, since we know the formula. Fixed overhead capacity variance is equal to budgeted hours minus actual hours worked into budgeted fixed overhead per hour. So budgeted fixed overhead per hour is going to be used everywhere. The budgeted hours, we calculated that it was 23,040 hours. Actual hours for which we have worked is 20,160, and the rate is ₹6. So budgeted hours were 23,040. We worked for 20,160. So there is a deficit of 2,880 hours. Rate is ₹6. And since we are talking about capacity utilization, then obviously it is going to be against our costing, it is going to adversely affect our costing. So 17,280 is going to be adverse. So try to understand, my dear students, every time when your actual hour is less than budgeted hour, it is not going to be favorable for us. When we are talking about efficiency, there it can be used as favorable. But when I'm talking about capacity variance, obviously my budgeted hours are 23,040 and I'm actually working for 20,160 hours. So this is going to negatively affect because I'm talking about capacity utilization. And here the capacity is underutilized because we are working for 2,880 hours on the reduction side, on the lower side. So that is why this 17,280, which is my fixed overhead capacity variance, is going to be adverse. After computing this, the next step is to calculate calendar variance. Since we know the formula of calendar variance, it is very easy to calculate extra or deficit days. Remember, there can either be deficit days or there can be some additional days worked. If information is given in terms of days. If it is given in terms of hours, there can be extra hours or deficit hours. So whatever the case is, accordingly we can modify the formula. Here in this question, we'll be using extra or deficit days. We are having deficit days into standard overhead rate. Deficit hours are, we were supposed to work for 24,000 hours, but we worked for 23,040 hours. So deficit hours are 960 and rate is given to us 6 rupees 6 per hour. So 5,760 adverse. So calendar variance, remember, whenever you have deficit days, obviously it is going to have negative impact onto our costing. That is why calendar variance here is tagged as adverse. So 5,760 is going to adversely affect my cost. So in this way, my dear students, we have computed fixed overhead volume variance, capacity variance, efficiency variance and calendar variance. For calendar variance, I would like to reiterate here that in your question, there can be extra days or deficit days. Now, how to understand whether it is extra day or deficit day? Just like in this question, 25 days are budgeted days for working. And actually you are working for 24 days. So obviously 24 is less than 25. It is a common sense. So 1 day deficit is there. And obviously if you are multiplying it with the total machine hour, the deficit hours you can calculate. On the contrary, if there would have been some situation that budgeted days are 25 and workers are working for 26 days, then in that case, obviously your calendar variance is going to be favorable for us. So whenever there is deficit day or deficit hour, your calendar variance is going to be adverse. Otherwise, suppose if it is opposite to this, that you are working for extra days or extra hours, then obviously your calendar variance is going to give you favorable variance in terms of impact on your cost. Now we can justify the fixed overhead volume variance. We can justify the computation of fixed overhead volume variance, and this is something which I wanted to exhibit in front of you with this numerical problem, that the question was simply asking us to calculate efficiency variance, calendar variance and capacity variance, and it didn't ask us to calculate volume variance. But I just thought that it's right question, right kind of problem to justify how to calculate fixed overhead volume variance and further justify it. At the very outset, when we computed fixed overhead volume variance, the amount was 16,680 adverse. When we computed capacity variance, it was 17,280 adverse. Calendar variance is again 5,760 adverse, whereas efficiency variance was 6,360 favorable. When we aggregate all three costs, that is capacity, calendar and efficiency, all three variances, the sum total of this is exactly equal to fixed overhead volume variance, that is 16,680 adverse. So in this way we have justified, we can assign reason to fixed overhead volume variance, that why it is adversely affecting our costing pattern. Why this fixed overhead volume variance is having adverse tag. The reason is cause your calendar variance is on the negative side, your capacity variance is on the negative side, whereas you have worked effectively in terms of efficiency variance. Had it not been there, your volume variance could have been having greater magnitude as compared to what we are having right now. So what we are witnessing right now, we are witnessing fixed overhead volume variance of 16,680 adverse, whereas it is justified by the computation of capacity, calendar and efficiency variance, and the two of the variances, that is capacity and calendar, they are adverse, whereas efficiency variance is favorable for me. So in this way, my dear students, we have tried to understand how to calculate fixed overhead variance, variable overhead variance, and then further justify. In this very problem of ours, we just tried to witness how to calculate fixed overhead volume variance and then further justify this computation by the way of calculation of efficiency variance, capacity variance, and calendar variance. So in this problem, we got the presence of calendar variance. Unlike the previous question, in the previous problem, we didn't have any calendar variance because the question didn't provide us about any deficit hours or extra hours, any deficit day or extra days work. That is why there was no presence of calendar variance. Here in this question, since it was given to us that budgeted days are 25 days and we worked for 24 days only, so obviously there is a presence of deficit days, and that is why calendar variance is calculated. So remember, you have to always keep this thing in mind that you may or may not be required to calculate calendar variance. So in any case, you are supposed to be prepared how to calculate calendar variance. I hope you must have understood how to calculate fixed overhead variances and how to justify these computations by calculating different other types of variances. Now moving on to the second phase of our discussion on the topic of overhead variances, which talks about the disposition of the variance. Whatever variance we have calculated, how do we actually dispose it off? How do we actually deal with it at a later stage? The way management is going to interpret, the management is going to draw inferences out of this calculation, the way it is being dealt by the accountant. As we all know that management accounting is all optional. It's all voluntary. There is no mandate for it. You may or may not follow. But obviously, whatever calculations we are doing, it is going to have some impact on our disposition of this variance. So let's talk about disposition of variances. In case the standard costs are used merely as a statistical information and not entered in the books of accounts. This is a situation that suppose we are dealing with a situation where the standard costs are merely used as a statistical information and they're not entered in the books of accounts. Obviously, the answer is no adjustment required. So this is a situation where it is simply used as a statistical information. Management is using it as a tool for either giving promotion to their employees or giving wrong negative promotion, or you can say demoting their employees, or affixing responsibility centers or something like that. But there is no accounting adjustment done for it because we are using it as a statistical information and they are not going to be entered into the books of accounts. The second possibility can be that standard costs are incorporated into the accounting system via either journal entries or by ledger posting or by any other way. So if it is coming into our books of records, then obviously adjustment is needed. Now once we have decided that some adjustment is required for these variances, then obviously we are talking about disposition of variances. The question comes, on what basis we are going to dispose it? What is the methodology? What is the modus operandi to deal with this particular disposition of variances? So there are different methods for it. Basically, in the fraternity of accounting and financial accounting and management accounting, there are three methods which are being discussed, and they are all are options. They are up to at the discretion of or disposal of the management, that whichever method they feel like they follow. So let us start with the first method, disposition of variance at the end of accounting period if it is required. Honestly speaking, there is no specific method for it is prescribed. Different methods are adopted based on practice. So let us start with the first method. The first method says that whatever variance you are getting, positive or negative, that should be transferred to profit and loss account. So if you are transferring it to profit and loss account, what happens? What is the assumption behind it? The assumption is that the standard cost represent real cost. Here we assume that whatever standard we have decided, that actually represents the real cost. All variances indicate about the inefficiency, waste or underperformance, and that is why management must come to know about these inefficiencies, and in this way, if we follow this method, variances are transferred to profit and loss account at the end of accounting period. Right? So what happens? Stock of working, what is the accounting implication? Stock of work in progress or process, finished goods and cost of goods sold, they are maintained at standard cost. So whatever is the standard rate or standard value, at that we are going to maintain all our inventories, right? And What is the benefit of adopting this method? It has advantage of prompt and uniform valuation of inventory. You can very promptly conduct the valuation of inventory, and presentation of variances as a specific item in the profit and loss account. It attracts the attention of the management also. Management can anytime get to know that what is happening into our costing department, and the accountability and responsibility can be fixed. So this is one method of dealing with these variances, that you simply transfer them to profit and loss account and showcase it that whether your variances are positive or they are negative, right? Although we have to be in the limit of accounting standards, because for financial accounting we have Ind AS, but as far as costing is concerned, we have done this valuation. If we have decided to go by this method, then obviously it is going to affect the costing, the valuation of my inventory, right? Because we are going to transfer it to profit and loss account. The second method is that we may allocate variances to inventories and cost of goods sold. This method, if we are following this method, the logic behind this method is that standard costs are basically a tool for controlling the cost, and they don't represent the real cost. They are basically a tool in the hand of a cost accountant or the management to control the cost. So they are not representing the total cost. And since we assume it like this, what happens? All the variances, they are distributed over stock of work in progress, finished goods, and cost of goods sold. So what is the impact of it? If we are distributing them to the stock of work in progress, finished goods, and cost of goods sold, it results in showing the inventories at actual cost. So here, unlike the previous method where we were assuming the standard cost to be the actual cost, real cost, here we are not doing so. We are going as per the actual cost. So whatever loss we are witnessing, whatever profit or favorable situation we have created, they are going to be adjusted. Our inventory is going to be adjusted with that. So in any case, it is going to be adjusted. The only point here is that we are not going to provide a mention of it into our profit and loss account. The third method which comes in front of us is combination method, where we apply a combination of both the methods. So what we do, if we follow the first two methods, variances are not disposed of in accordance to the best accounting practice. So what we do, the logical way is to combine both the methods and apply them as per the nature of variances, because that is the only logical way. If we are going to make use of either first method or second method, in first method we are unnecessarily disclosing our inefficiencies if it is there, and in the second method we are basically hiding, because our inventory is going to be adjusted with the valuation with the current valuation, and management may not be aware of the inefficiencies. So in first case, basically we are going for one extreme, whereas in second case we are going for the another extremes. So basically we in any case we are going to use both the extremes, which should not be followed. We should try to find out a midway, and the midway is combination method. We need to mind that whether my variance is favorable, adverse, or neutral, and accordingly we should take our decision. So what is to be done? If the variance results from controllable factors, the factors which are under our control, and they represent accountability of people concerned, they should actually be transferred to profit and loss account. Because if it is coming out of controllable factors, which can be under our control, then obviously they should be transferred to profit and loss account. But uncontrollable factors or reasons, if variance is coming out of it is emanating due to uncontrollable factors, then obviously it should be allocated to inventories in an equitable manner. So the right way is, if it is emanating, what is the point of origin for this variance? If it is coming due to controllable factors, then obviously it should be transferred to profit and loss account. But if this particular variance is arising due to uncontrollable factors, just like price changes, government policy, and so on and so forth, then obviously it should be allocated to the inventories in an equitable manner. So in this way, my dear students, we have also discussed about the disposition of variances by the way of different methods, that is transferring it to profit and loss account, allocating it to inventories, and making use of a combination of both the methods. The right ways, or most of the management accountants are basically following the combination method only. So in this way, we have tried to understand the different types of variances, that is fixed overhead cost variance, variable overhead cost variances, disposition of variances. I hope you must have understood these basic concepts of overhead variances, and you can apply it to the different numerical problems and increase your understanding about this particular topic. In the next lecture of mine, we'll talk about different other components like control ratios and all. I hope you must have understood the today's lecture of mine and enjoyed it. Thank you so much.